Hi! We just watched, I think, Gam's favorite show of all time, Azumanga Daioh.
God,
Yeah, he had a
I
great time all the way through.
yeah.
I don't think anything could have been better.
Yeah.
No, nothing is ever going to be a bit better.
So let's do the normal thing, get out of the way. What do you guys think I think of this show?
Do you go first?
Seven-ish.
Okay.
5.
No, Deer was pretty right. It's like
Okay.
a 7, maybe an
7.
8.
That's what I
I
said.
don't know.
Ish.
Okay.
There are parts of it that you cracked up at, but like other parts that you were just silent. So
It's an extremely.
I mean, you could say
nostalgic
the same with
series for
me.
Yeah.
You could say the same with me as well, where it's like there were parts where I cracked up, but there were also parts where I was completely silent. But my opinion is not the same as Spooky's.
well, no,
Yeah,
of course
no,
not, because that means something completely different from you than it does from Suki.
Yeah. No, I don't know. This series is extremely nostalgic for me. And I really
That's
love
fair.
the characters, so. Oh, this was actually the first anime box set I ever owned.
Yeah.
I still
Fucking
have
weeb.
it. Yeah, my dad got it for me for Christmas one year. So
Nice. Was it one
Yeah,
of
it's
those
still chilling on my
situations where
shelf.
you asked for it, or was it like,
asked
I
for
saw
it,
this
yeah.
anime, I think it's what you like?
No, I asked for it. He had to go online and find it and stuff.
Okay.
It's something I asked for, and yeah, it's I still have it. It's still on my shelf. It's behind me right now, so that's pretty cool. But
I don't want to
anyway,
alarm you, Spooky, but it's right behind you.
oh god. But anyway, let's go into episode descriptions.
Okay, so episode 5. My notes are sporadic because there were times where I was like, what do I even write down right now? There's nothing to write down.
It's probably going to be a pretty quick episode today.
It's going to be a quick episode today. So episode 5, we start and we learn that summer break starts tomorrow for all this class that we're zooming in on. And teacher's like, where's everyone going? And a kid's like, I'm going to New Zealand. And then another kid says that they're going somewhere, but I was writing notes, so I missed it. But it doesn't matter. And the teacher says, cool, I'm going to Neptune. Anyway, here's your report cards. And people looking at their report cards and they're like, oh, wow, I got stuff. And then some people had like extra homework with their report cards. And she was like, anyone who got drills with their report cards has to do them before leaving. Anyway, we cut to another person who I'm going to call Cat Girl. She's outside and she wants to pet a cat, but she goes to pet it and it bites her. Anyway, we cut to another the teacher from earlier in a bed, not wanting to get out of bed, and then another teacher comes along and gets her out of bed. And she's like, you have to make a life schedule. And the other teacher's like, but I want to sleep and have free time. And the other teacher's like, but you gotta do stuff. So she went, okay. So she made a pie chart where it was like 60% sleep and 40% free time. And then the other teacher's like, you can't structure your life like that. And then the girl is like, no, I would just want to sleep. Isn't life fun when you just do nothing? And then she's like, I want to swim. And then there's like a 5-minute thing. They go back and forth about swimming is something you can do. And then they're like, let's just use the school pool to swim. So they go to the school pool and swim. And the teacher that didn't want to get out of bed is on a shark floaty, going back and forth up the pool, and people are looking at him. Anyway, we cut to 3 of the students, completely unrelated, in a different area of town. They're talking about something, going to a house or something, and they're talking about being rowdy. And then they're like, after a weird comedy bit about being loud and shit, they're like, let's go buy a cake. So they go to buy a cake, and then they don't buy a cake. Then they finally make it to this girl's house and they're scared, and it's like a mansion. Turns out this little girl is rich or whatever. Also, cat girl goes back to pet the cat, and gets bitten again. The girls arrive at the girl mansion and they're scared or something. The girl is like 10, but she's in high school because like Spooky explained that she's just a genius, so she just upper grades. And also she's rich because she lives in a massive mansion. Next day, they're all like, hey, it's summer's hot, so we're going to a summer house, and the teachers are there, and they're like, hey, we're gonna drive you. And one of them, who's the lazy teacher, has a piece of shit car that is terrifying. And they're like, who wants to go in there? And it's a terrifying adventure. They get there, and the two that were inside got traumatized. Congratulations. Then we cut to them all on the beach, and we have a really weird conversation about hemorrhoids and dolphins. Head Empty Girl wants to ride a dolphin, and Cat Girl is thinking about hemorrhoids. I don't know. Anyway, if we cut to nighttime, where they're now talking about scary stories and shit, and they're like, teachers, you must have some stories from your life. Tell us some stories. And the teachers are like, and then Head Empty Girl is like, here, I'll tell a story about, like, this is where murderers and serial killers would come into effect, and then we'd all die one by one. First this person, then this person. Then it would be revealed that I'm the killer. And everyone's like, what? Anyway, now they're setting off fireworks. Anyway, now back to the rich girl. They're about to leave the camp, and she's like, I don't want to die on the way home, so I want to not be in that car again. Anyway, cut to Cat Girl. She goes to pet the cat again, but this time it just gets scared and it runs away. And she's like, it's the final day of summer. Anyway, they're back at school now, and they're talking about the summer trip, and then they show the class lesbian photos of the teacher in her bikini, and she has a gay panic. And Cat Girl gets photo... Oh, wait, it wasn't the teacher, it was Cat Girl. I don't fucking care.
Yeah, it was Cat Girl.
Cat Girl gets her photos back, and then she's like, wow, these are the first photos I've had of a trip with friends. And then Rich Girl comes up behind her and is like, there's a ghost behind you in all of these photos. Ooh, and she's like, wah! And then, I want to call her Metal Slug for some reason. She just reminds me of a Metal Slug character because of the glasses. Comes up behind her, she's like, yeah, there's a ghost behind you in all the photos. And then Cat Girl's like, and then lazy teacher walks in and is like, where'd everyone go? And then everyone who was like, I'm going here, ended up not going anywhere. And that was the end. It's over.
Yeah.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
But then in the next episode, we see a orange cat wiggling, and then it eats us, and it's the culture festival. So, okay, short girl, i.e. rich girl, and another are representatives, and the lazy teacher's like, do whatever you want, I don't care. Loud girl wants to do a haunted house cafe, and glasses girl thinks it's dumb. Brainless girl is just like, it's okay. And then now we imagine short girl turning into concrete or an umbrella demon, but instead let's do a haunted house that's actually a cafe instead, because that's different. So let's all become like short girl and just act like her for a bit. And then we see that orange cat's behind a tree for a bit. Everyone is having the idea of a haunted cafe, so what if you did that? They're like, well, last year we did cute things and everyone loved that, so let's make them cute. And they're like, okay. I.e., let's have a lot of cats and dogs in the cafe, and they'll all be dead. And then the entire class is a fucking wreck, and Chio, short girl, is doing her best at trying to get it together. They're running out of time, please turn back the clock, and then Braidless girl tries to do that. She's like, no! Booby is trying to come up with some designs and pulls out another cat when her cat is taken. And then the lesbian stalker comes up and goes, wow, talk to me about cats, I love you. And then she leaves. And then Loud Girl is making the 2 plush cat toys fight a whole bunch. And Booby brought up a background that she drew. And she's like, here, try this. And they're like, okay. And then when asked to work, everyone leaves. And Booby places an orange cat between the two. And it starts to glow. Okay. So now, it's the Culture Festival. And Booby is here.
Wow.
Booby is here, and they're in cafe outfits. Short girl went to change, and she's in apparently a massive penguin outfit for no reason, and teacher thinks it's cute, and then shoves her over so she can't get up, which makes her even more cute. But then everyone's like, you're so cute. But then everyone is distracted by the cute penguin things. Cut to everyone having the different culture situations at the school, and the teacher stops them for tea. The penguin is asked to bring coffee, which is super cute, and then she dies on the table. And then the other teacher's like, ha, I beat you. Nothing can compete with this super cute girl. You wish you had her, didn't you? Ha, she's my student. And then an extremely skinny man comes in, and he wants to order for a hat, and then he puts it on and starts to scream to try to attract customers, and then gets kicked out. But now a hat is missing, so we have to go get it back. But actually it's time for a break, so Brainless Girl and Short Girl go on a break and eat snacks and takoyaki. Because Short Girl acts so fucking cute eating all the things, everyone wants to go to the cafe, which is now overbooked to hell because of how cute she was. Lesbian Booby stands the penguin suit up and puts a cat on it so that it feels better even though it doesn't, and then after credits they talked about Santa for a bit. And that was it.
Oh, I didn't write down anything about the after credits scene.
It's fine.
I assumed they were like next episode previews.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
we got to episode 22, which at this point I was like
Checked out.
I think there was only like two things that made me actually laugh. One was a slapstick moment where like the penguin costume is revealed and like rich girl is like slowly walking towards, I don't know who it was, where it was a cat girl or a teacher, and there's like this freeze frame of like teacher being like in love of like, oh my god, she's so cute, as like the rich girl's like waddling towards her, like talking, and then the teacher just pushes her over.
Yeah.
And she lands flat on her back, and it's so fucking funny.
Yep.
So good.
And she just
I just realized
felt like it.
Yeah. The second moment that made me laugh, like at this point, that was I think the only thing that had made me actually like laugh out loud, because it was like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting that. That was actually funny. So at that point, I was like, man, I am struggling to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then this episode happened, and there was a lot that was actually entertaining and funny. So first of all, we cut to the classroom, and we learn that exams are coming up. So so while there's like a break, we gotta study. But I wanna have fun. So like, why don't we have a study camp? It's like, well, we could goof off then. And it cut like as they're like saying that they want to study and also then goof off. It cuts between the lazy teacher and then Metal Slug Glasses girl being like, no, study, no, fun, no, study, no, fun, like that sort of thing. And then the other thing that made me fucking laugh was that at the end, it just sort of cuts back to lazy teacher, and she's just standing there staring at them. And then suddenly she pulls up a fucking flotation ring and then just turns it like a car wheel and goes, and then it cuts away. And it's so fucking funny.
Yeah, she's such a fucking shit. I love her.
And then, okay, so they're like, okay, we're going to have a study camp. And then they're like, okay, well, we got to drive there. And they're like, okay, well, first of all, they're like, there's like 7 of us, which means we're going to have to drive there. And then one of them's like, wait a minute, 7. Wait, that means, and as they realize, that means they need 2 cars. The gate opens up, and shitty car from the teacher is back. It's even shittier than before. It's like dented and broken down.
I love that
like,
the headlight is like being held together with like not like good tape. It's like standard.
It's like sticky
fucking
tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking sticky. Not even gaffer tape, just sticky tape.
Yep.
So, the 2 that were in the car before are like, no, I'm not doing this. I can't go in there anymore. And then Titties, who I would call Catgirl, was like, oh, I'll do it then. Because the lesbian was like, I don't want to get in that car. And then Titties, Catgirl, was like, I'll do it. And then lesbian was like, okay, I'll do it too. Because she's a lesbian. And they're like, okay, let's go. So the first car sets off and it's fine. And then suddenly the second shitty car takes off and it's like it's fucking lagging on a server. It just drives all fucking over light speed. And then they stop and we're like, what just happened? And the teacher's like, oh, I had it in reverse. Whoops.
Whoops.
And then puts it in drive. And they go fucking hyper speed, slamming down the road, screaming past the other car. Anyway, then they get to the camp. They get out of the car and vow never to go into it ever again. The teacher's like, oh man, my mirror was pushed in the entire time. And Lesbian's like, I can't handle this, I'm gonna pass out. Then we cut to all of them at the sea. They're having fun in the sea again, just like the other time.
Mhm.
They're talking about goofing off instead of studying, and they're like, let's goof off all cam. And they're like, no, you got to study. And then the lazy teacher's like, yeah, goofing off. And they're like, wait, you're meant to be a teacher. And then she paddles out to sea, never to be seen again.
R.I.P. You missed
and then
Did you skip the part where Osaka stares at Catgirl's tits?
Yeah.
Did I put that down? Oh, wait, no, that's right. I just put it down as booba lesbian. So Catgirl is in the bikini, and then she's talking about something with Head Empty, and Head Empty just like looks at her in her eyes, and then tilts her head ever so slightly down slowly to her tits, and then it just stays on that frame for like a full minute, and then she slowly looks up again,
Yep.
and then another character comes by. I forget who it was who comes by. Was
The
it Rich Girl or was
dumbass
it
one.
Ash
It
Ketchum?
was Loud Girl.
Ash
Is that
Ketchum.
Ash
So Ash
Ketchum?
Ketchum comes by. She looks like Ash Ketchum.
I can kind of
Ash
see it a
Ketchum
little
comes
bit.
by and like is like, "What's going on? I'm really loud." And Head Empty's just like, "Booba." And then Ash Ketchum is just like, "I'm not one of you. I don't look at titties." And then she looks at her titties, and then she's like, "I am one of you," which was funny. It was really funny. It was one moment where like they actually left time for the joke to breathe and didn't have something constantly happening or like someone yelling or like noise happening while a joke's going on. Like it was just the joke and it had time to breathe and be funny, and it's why it was so funny. Anyway, I'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, we cut to them actually studying now. Head Empty can't study. She falls asleep constantly and asks others to tell her how to do things, and she doesn't learn anything. And then she's like, hey, lazy teacher, can you help me? And lazy teacher's just like, if you need help, you can ask someone. Someone will be able to help you. And so Head Empty's like, hey, PE teacher, can you help me? And she's like, it goes on for like a full 2 minutes of her just like, basically she doesn't know because she doesn't remember from high school. Like that's it's a constant like hang on, it's there, oh wait, it's there, this and then the lazy teacher is like the superior teacher because she teaches English, so she starts talking English around everyone. And PE teacher's like, she's not better just because she speaks English. See, like, let's take a break and study some PE. And then she accidentally kicks a ball in fucking Rich Girl's face. And lazy teacher's like, how dare you disrupt their studying? Anyway, we cut away. And now it's early morning, and Rich Girl is out doing aerobics exercises in the early morning to get stamps. She's like, hey, look, cat girl, I get stamps for doing exercises in the morning. The teacher gives it to me, and the titty cat girl is just like, I like stamps. So next morning, she goes out and exercises too, just because she wants the stamps. And so I forget who does it. Someone tries to take a photo of her, but every time she tries to take a photo, it was that's right, it was lesbian. Lesbian keeps trying to take a photo of titty cat girl, but every time she does, Ash Ketchum just jumps in front of the camera and does like a peace sign each time, and yep, that's the joke. Then we cut to Head Empty goes to wake up the teacher, and she is like, I've always wanted to wake someone up with a pen and a hand, like a ladle. I've always wanted to do that. And so she goes to the room holding a massive knife, standing in the doorway, facing the teacher. The teacher's just like, what are you? And she gets closer, and then one of the girls is like, hey, can you come help me? And she's like, okay. And then she's like, oh, you were awake. I have failed. And she's like, wait, where's my pen? I was holding a pen. And then the other girl, the rich girl's like, put down the knife, please. Please, oh God, put down the knife. Put down the knife. Oh God, put down the knife. Anyway, they're back at school now. And this is the worst part of the episode. Probably the worst part of anything that we watched today. It's like a full 5 minutes of just, they're not motivated to do anything because they had too much fun. So rich girl just says over and over again, be motivated, be motivated, be motivated, be motivated. And then she runs out of energy. So like they're like falling over, slumped. And then as she says it, they're slowly standing up straight again. Then she gets tired, so they slump over again. And so she tries to say it again, and she slumps over again. And then the teacher comes in, and she's also not motivated. So rich girl starts doing it again, and it's just, and then it was over. Thank God.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
How you feeling?
Okay. So my biggest problem with this show is that this show has ADHD. Everything, there is something happening constantly. There is always noise. There is always a character shouting. There is always a special effect going off. There is always like sound bites happening every 2 milliseconds. They leave no time for jokes to breathe. They, like, even in jokes where it's like they have a moment of pause, the pause isn't long enough. Like, it's such a short pause where it's like, oh, okay, that was, oh, we're on to the next, okay, sorry. I thought we were taking a moment to, like, enjoy the joke. Like, it's just so, like, it's not the kind of thing where it's like short, punchy jokes where it's like a Mel Brooks movie where there's just joke a second, where it's like, that's funny, it's like, okay, these are like jokes where they're overlapping each other, and it's like, I am almost a sensory overload in a sense of like, first of all, my biggest problem with a comedy anime is like, there's only so many ways you can just say it wasn't funny to me. Like, with something that has a story, I can pick apart of like, personally, this is why it didn't work for me. This is why it didn't work. There are only so many ways I can say in this, it just was not funny to me. And that's the case for a lot of it. I just didn't find it entertaining. But the one thing I can say that is not just it wasn't funny is the fact that like it has this ADHD about it where it is just does not want to stop for a second to let you take in a joke. It just wants to move on immediately. And it's like, how am I supposed to enjoy your jokes if you keep saying the joke and immediately going to something else before I can even think about what you just said? But I don't know.
I think that's kind of more of an issue with the adaptation too, because so Azumanga Daioh was just 4-panel comics, right? So
that would explain it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. As soon as you were like, "Oh yeah, it's just like joke after joke," and like, yeah, it's because it was 4-panel comics. So it's definitely something that's way different to read than it is to watch, and I do think the better experience is reading it. While I do like the anime, it's definitely like, I think that Azuma's humor just hits better in manga form, but especially with Azumanga Daioh. This is the only thing of his that's been adapted into an anime, because he only really has like 2 series, but with it being like 4-panel comics, it's like, I feel like it's like hard to adapt that in a way. And it's like the scenes that kind of like drag, that's like anime original content. So they just kind of like fucking threw that in.
I will say, I think it can be hard to adapt 4-panel comics.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I would say makes me believe that you can actually do it really well is Pop Team Epic.
Yeah.
I haven't seen all of it. I've seen some episodes of it, but like the way they adapt and sort of do versions of that is very much like,
I'm gonna be real. I don't find Pop Team Epic funny at all. I like two scenes from it.
I don't find a lot of it funny, but I find it a lot more accessible than, like, I don't think it has the same ADHD problem, because the way they tend to go about it is like, okay, this short sketch that we're doing is basically one of the 4-panel comics that is just blown up into this 1-minute sketch.
Yeah.
Like, it's essentially a pure adaptation of this with nothing else. Like, it's not multiple comics put together or anything, and then it's not like connected to other comics like in this through line. It's just, here's a random thing. Okay, move on to the next one. Here's a random thing. Move on to the next one. Here's a random thing. Whereas this one, it just feels like there's a through line with it, and it's like all connected, but it's so disjointed at the same time. It's insane to me.
I mean,
but like,
to be fair too, Pop Team Epic was like a 2018 show. This is a 2002 show.
True.
So you have
it's
to keep
a completely
in mind, like,
different style.
Yeah, like when this show came out, this was like peak fucking comedy at the time.
Yeah.
Like, because there wasn't anything like this, right? Like, this was like new and adapting something like this. Like, this was like at one point the funniest thing, which is why I'm still like I was talking about this before we started. I'm like, I'm still shocked there's like such diehard fans for Azumanga Daioh, because it shows its age 100%. You know. Like, the anime show, like, it is old. It hasn't aged super well. There are still parts that are funny, but yeah, I don't know. For its time, like, everyone was like, this is the funniest shit ever, but the fact that people, like, still recommend it as, like, the funniest shit ever, like, blows me away, because it's like, is it though?
I mean, it's like the style of, like, people back in, like, 2009, 2008, like, recommending things.
Yeah,
like, it's the funniest shit ever, and it, like, the humor is just lol to random. Like,
yeah.
It's that kind of stuff where it's like, humor has evolved.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't say this is lols to random, because it's not. There is a logic to it.
Yeah.
And they do follow comedy structure, like the cat girl joke, repeating joke of, okay, she sees the cat, goes to pet the cat bites her. We go to other jokes, we come back to it. She sees a cat, goes to pet the cat bites her. Good. We got set up, reminder. Here's the punchline. She goes to see the cat a final time. She goes to pet the cat, and then it just gets scared and runs away. It's like, how is that funny? Like,
that
is...
Those, see, in that episode, those were more used as in-betweens to kind of break things up than it was actually, like, because that cat's like a recurring thing. Like, the joke for that cat has kind of been over at this point, right? Which you wouldn't know. I don't know. The anime definitely chose to do like really weird things, especially with like in-betweens to break up like panels and stuff that it only did sometimes. It has weird choices for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you, because it's like, yeah, okay, that's a thing that happened, and it's like, why? And the only real answer is like, oh, it's in-betweens. And
yeah, and to me it's like, oh, wait, okay, so it's in-betweens, but it's like, if this is a comedy anime and you have something as an in-between, like, yeah, that works as an in-between. A short, repeated, like, a repeated joke like that. That's what you do. It's like, why didn't you make the third one a joke?
Right.
And it's like, oh, because it's just an in-between. It's like, yeah, that's why you should have made it a joke. Like, it's a comedy anime, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, no.
It's like, if this was a slice of life, it not being a joke would have made more sense. It still would have been bad, but, like, I guess I could have justified it in, like, well, it's not trying to be, like, comedic. It's like, well, you could say this says something about the character of Catgirl or whatever. Like, but this is... that perplexes me even more, actually.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think the studio definitely chose, like, some I don't know, to do some weird shit with stuff like that. Just like the whole get motivated scene, that like didn't happen in the manga, at least not that I remember. And I tried to like look it up really quick while we were recording, and I couldn't find anything. So it's like that was like the studio being like, this will be funny, and it's like, what? So I don't know what happened there.
It's exactly like they had a room of people being like, oh, this would be funny, and they didn't actually think if it actually would be funny.
Yeah. It's like real fucking weird.
It's exactly that style of like sitting around with a group of people being like, oh man, like we should make this show, and like we'll put this in it and this in it, and then you make it without that like breathing room of like someone coming in and going, okay, but is it actually funny, or is it like just funny in this circumstance? Like the sort of thing of like including in jokes in a finished product. Like the one example that I can talk to that doesn't involve like talking about my own high school was actually it's easier if I talk about the high school version. So in high school there was a music class, and they had a running joke in their class where they would just stand up on top of their chairs. I didn't understand. I wasn't part of the music class. They would all just stand on top of their chairs while the teacher wasn't looking or something. At the end of year performance for grade 12, where it's like, hey, okay, all the kids involved in extracurricular music and also the music class come together to like do a performance to like say goodbye and everything. In their performance that they did, they like kept referencing in jokes within their class, and no one was laughing because no one understood what they were like joking. Like they were having fun and they were laughing, but like the audience had no idea what was meant to be funny.
Right.
Because they're not in on the joke. And it's like that sort of thing of like, this probably was funny to them, but like, if you're making something, you need to think about your audience first and foremost. Like, what's funny to you guys isn't necessarily going to translate to be funny to an audience.
And I do wonder too, because obviously there are jokes lost in translation with the show, and I do kind of wonder,
there
like,
definitely
are there parts that would have been funnier if we knew the language? And that's another thing that where it's kind of like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know Japanese, so I couldn't tell you, and it's not something that's like discussed often. So it's like, that's kind of like a shrug where it's like the whole thing with like the plaster wall
hemorrhoids
thing, like that, the hemorrhoids. Okay, actually, the hemorrhoids is the best example.
That was a bad example.
The hemorrhoids I think is a great example because it's explained, but it's still something that's lost on. Because even though it is explained, it's still something that you would only understand if you knew Japanese, right? Because they like vaguely explain like, oh, this is why, and it's like, okay, but I don't understand that because I don't know how to read Japanese. You know?
Yeah, true.
So it's like
it is that kind of thing where it's like, here, we'll try and let English viewers in on the joke. It's like, we'll explain it as we go along. And it's like, it's not funny because you're just explaining. Like, it's not a point of like, hey, you shouldn't have done this. But it's like, it's those things where it's like a joke that gets lost in translation doesn't become funny by explaining like why it's funny in Japanese. Like, it's like, oh, okay, I see why it's funny, but it isn't funny to me. It's like, okay, if you want to do that joke, you need to get someone in who can translate that, like, not just translate the words, but translate the joke to English.
For sure.
Which I know I had examples in my head, but I've forgotten them, where people have, or probably the best example would be Mother 3, if I can think about that. Like, the fan translation of that, there are bits in it that they translate pure word, but there's also parts where they go above and beyond what normal, like, page translators would have done, and they actually are able to translate jokes that only worked in Japanese, but to translate them to English, they basically had to change massive lines of dialogue to make the same joke, but they had to use different like dialogue and wording to get that same joke to work in English.
A good series that we haven't watched on podcast yet that I think we will at some point is Panty and Stocking. The Japanese for that is like very Japanese humor, but the English, it's like they did that same thing where it's like they changed the jokes.
I have heard it's very good.
The same. Yeah, if we watch that, we'll watch the English. That'll be like the one thing where it's like English stuff.
Yeah, I actually prefer the English of Panty and Stocking.
Yeah, because it's made with the comedy that we get versus like the Japanese, which is still like funny, but it's like, I don't know. That'll be an interesting one I haven't watched that since it fucking came out, but yeah.
So,
but yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think a big issue with this is they just didn't know how to at the time how to handle the 4-panel comic. I do want to go back and reread the manga at some point, so I'll let you know if that holds up because I haven't read it since I was a kid. But I will say that the other thing that the mangaka did is my 3rd favorite manga of all time. So,
okay.
And it's a super love series. It's Yotsuba. This is the guy that did Yotsuba. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this super like beloved series that like a ton of people find like really funny, and I like love it. I hold it really dear. They're really close to my heart. It's super good. But so yeah, I've been wanting to kind of go back and like revisit Azumanga Daioh. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll update you guys on if that holds up or not, because I have no idea. I haven't read it since I was like probably 13 or 14. So but
yeah, that's a good idea. Tell us if you would still enjoy it or not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I guess you guys should rate this.
Do you?
Like a 4 or 5. Really. It's just not my thing, honestly.
That's fair. I'm gonna be harsher. I'm gonna say only a 2. I don't want to watch this ever again, but it's the kind of thing of like...
Wait, is that not a fraction?
What?
Kim! You've given us a non-asterisk fucking thing!
I was about to say, I've never used fractions.
You were like a 2 point... What? It's fine. Asterisk, yeah. Anyway,
well,
sorry.
Okay, so...
No.
I say a 2 because I'm like... I don't want to ever watch this ever again, and if anyone asked me, like, hey, let's watch this, I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
But if someone was like, hey, here's this clip from it of, like, something that's really funny that I think you'd like, I would watch it. I wouldn't be like, I don't want to watch... no.
Right.
No, don't.
Mm-hmm.
But I never... No. I don't think it's bad, it's not for me. Like, I just don't... it's not funny to me.
Yeah, no, totally understandable. If I wouldn't have loved this so much as a kid, there's no fucking way I would rank it highly today. Like, it's like, there's a huge...
I'm glad you recognize that.
Yeah, no, there's a huge nostalgia factor in it for me, where it's like,
and there's nothing wrong...
This. Yeah.
I feel like I should state, because for some people it's not obvious when I do state it, there is nothing wrong with liking something on purely nostalgic grounds.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely nothing wrong. Like, if you rate something super high in your mind of, like, I love this thing, and it's like, it's purely because I loved it as a kid, and I still love it now, and it helps me remind me of, like, what childhood was like. It's like, that is a completely valid reason to like something, and anyone who tells you otherwise can shut up. The only point where someone can be legitimate with, like, you're being a bit nostalgia blinded is when you're saying something like, this thing is the best thing ever. And it's like, I mean,
yeah,
you might like it, but it's not that good. And it's like, no, it's great. I watched it as a kid. It's like,
yeah, there's a big...
That's not a legitimate reason.
That's actually like a whole... I mean, that's a whole discussion, but it is a big thing where people can't step away from something they like a lot and separate it from, like, personal feelings versus, like, viewing it more objectively. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, God,
but yeah, that's like a whole thing. I actually went on a huge rant about that today earlier. But yeah. Yay. Azumanga Daioh. We did it. Raspberry Heaven.
Azumanga Daioh.
Yeah.
We did it. Are you happy, dear? We survived.
I want to go to sleep.
Well, you'll be in Raspberry Heaven when you do sleep. We did it. We did it. We
Yay,
did it.
a joke.
We did it. We did it.
Goodbye, everybody. Get motivated.
Goodbye,
Get
Dr.
motivated.
Nick.
Get motivated. Get motivated.
Get motivated.
Get motivated.
Get motivated.
Get motivated.
Get
Get
motivated.
motivated.
No.
Get motivated. Get motivated. Goodbye.
motivated.
We'll see you next time when we look at a wall with one panel of a 4-panel comic on it.
We'll see you next time when we watch the McDonald's anime commercials. Bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Run, run, roo.